Unlocking Depression: How Hormones and Genetics Shape Your Mental Health. Hey there, friends. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Zaki, and today we're diving into a topic that affects millions of people worldwide: depression, but not just any part of it. Today we're going to explore the fascinating roles hormones and genetics play in depression. It's a bit like a puzzle, and we're going to break it down so it's easy to understand. If you're struggling or know someone who is, this video might just shed some light on why depression happens and how hormones and genetics could be key players in the whole process. So, grab a cozy seat and let's get started. Let's kick things off with a quick refresher on what depression actually is. Now, we all feel down sometimes, right? Maybe after a tough day or a challenging week. But depression, well, that's different. It's a persistent feeling of sadness and a loss of interest in activities you once enjoyed. It's not just about feeling blue. It's a complex mental health condition that can affect your thoughts, your feelings, and even your physical health. And here's the thing: depression doesn't have one single cause. It's a mix of many factors. And today, we're focusing on two big ones: hormones and genetics. When we think about depression, we tend to think of it as something that's all in our heads, right? Something to do with our thoughts and emotions. But in reality, depression is also deeply connected to what's happening inside our bodies, especially when it comes to hormones and our genetic makeup. Our bodies play a huge role in how we experience mental health, and understanding the science behind it can really help make sense of the complexity of depression. All right, let's talk about hormones. You've probably heard of hormones before. They're those little chemical messengers that help control things like mood, metabolism, and even how our body reacts to stress. They're like the body's communication system, sending signals to different parts to tell them what to do. So when it comes to depression, hormones are a key player. But sometimes things can go out of balance, and that's where hormones start playing a role in depression. A couple of key players we're going to look at are serotonin, dopamine, and cortisol. Serotonin. This one's often called the feel-good hormone. It helps regulate mood, sleep, and appetite. It's essential for emotional well-being. And when our serotonin levels drop, it can leave us feeling low or anxious. Imagine serotonin as the mood stabilizer in your brain. When there's not enough of it, everything feels just a little bit harder to deal with. Dopamine, known as a reward hormone. Dopamine is involved in pleasure and motivation. A decrease in dopamine can contribute to the lack of joy or interest in things you used to love. For example, people with depression often lose interest in hobbies or activities that once brought them joy. Dopamine is like the brain's reward system. When it's out of balance, it can make life feel a lot less exciting. Cortisol, this is your stress hormone. When you're under constant stress, cortisol levels can get elevated, and that's been linked to depression. High cortisol levels can actually damage brain cells and disrupt the parts of your brain that help regulate mood. The problem with cortisol is that it's supposed to help you respond to stress, but when you're under chronic stress, it just keeps pouring into your system, creating an environment where depression can thrive. Now, these hormones don't work in isolation. It's all about balance. So, when there's an imbalance, it can lead to feelings of hopelessness, fatigue, or anxiety, classic symptoms of depression. You can think of your hormones as a kind of orchestra in your brain. When they're all playing in harmony, things go smoothly. But when one instrument starts playing out of tune, it affects the entire symphony. Now, let's move on to genetics. You know how we inherit traits from our parents? Things like eye color, height, maybe even the shape of our nose? Well, depression can run in families, which suggests that genes might have something to do with it, too. Research shows that if you have a parent or sibling with depression, you're at a higher risk of developing it yourself. But it's not just about having the depression gene. It's more complicated than that. Your genetic makeup can make you more sensitive to stress or more likely to experience mood imbalances. For example, certain genes involved in production of serotonin or dopamine could increase your vulnerability to depression if they don't function properly. Some of these genes can affect the way your brain processes emotions, making it more likely for you to experience depression when faced with life's challenges. But here's the cool part. Genetics alone don't seal the deal. If you got the genes for depression, it doesn't mean you're doomed to get it. Environmental factors like stress, trauma, or life events can tip the scales. Think of it like a recipe. You need both ingredients, genes, and the right conditions environment for the dish to come together. This is why two people with the same genetic risk might not both develop depression. It's all about what happens in their lives, their stress levels, the challenges they face, and how they cope with them. Genetics may be the blueprint, but the environment is the builder. So now, let's talk about how hormones and genetics interact with each other. It's not just one or the other. These factors are often working together. Let's say you've got a genetic predisposition for depression. That means your body might be more likely to have low serotonin or dopamine levels. Now, add a stressful event, like losing a job or going through a breakup. Stress can trigger an increase in cortisol levels, which then messes with your serotonin and dopamine levels even more. This, in turn, makes it harder for you to cope with that stress, and you might end up feeling depressed. In other words, it's like a domino effect. Genetics sets the stage, and hormones can take things to the next level. It's all about how they interact. And it's not just stress that can mess with these systems. Things like poor sleep, unhealthy eating habits, and lack of exercise can also influence how your body produces and uses hormones, creating a perfect storm for depression. Okay, so now that we know how hormones and genetics can play a role in depression, you might be wondering, what can I do about it? Well, the good news is that there are plenty of ways to manage depression, even if you have a genetic predisposition for it. Talk to a professional. Therapy, like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, can help you deal with negative thinking patterns. Therapy helps by teaching you tools to reframe your thoughts, manage stress, and improve your mood. Medication. Antidepressants can help balance those hormone levels, especially serotonin and dopamine. These medications work by either increasing production of these key hormones or helping your brain use them more effectively. Self-care, regular exercise, eating a balanced diet, and getting enough sleep can all help regulate hormones and boost your mood. Exercise, in particular, has been shown to increase serotonin and dopamine levels, which can act as a natural antidote to depression. Stress management. Practicing mindfulness, meditation, or yoga can help keep cortisol levels in check. These activities can help train your brain to react differently to stress, making it easier to cope when life gets tough. Remember, depression is treatable, and you don't have to go through it alone. If you or someone you know is struggling, reaching out for support is a huge first step. Sometimes, just talking about it can make all the difference. So, there you have it. The fascinating roles hormones and genetics play in depression. It's a combination of biology and environment, and while it can feel overwhelming, understanding it is the first step to feeling better. If this video helped you understand depression a little better, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. And hey, if you or someone you know is going through depression, remember, you're not alone, and it's okay to ask for help. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Stay strong, take care, and remember to subscribe to @ZakaPrat. You've got this.